Welcome back to Going Walkabout. Currently, there are a lot of people from the United States looking for a new home. The events of the last year have really got a lot of people thinking about where they might be happier. So, many people from the United States are looking at England, the UK, and Europe. With that said, there's over 6,600 people that have applied to be part of the UK. And interestingly enough, over 1,931 of them have applied since the election in the United States in November of 2024. After having lived in England for 5 years, I thought it would be helpful to do a list of 10 things that I think the UK does better than the United States. And to be fair, I'll then do the 10 things I think the US does better than the UK. So, we'll get started in just a moment. Please keep in mind, this is meant to be helpful. This is purely my list of things that I think are better in one place than the other. But I know that you all may have some different ideas about that. So again, put your comments below and let me know what you think. Okay, fresh cup of tea, and we'll jump into number 1, things that the UK does better than the US. At number 1, I have healthcare, and that would be because in the UK you have the National Health Plan, which is wonderful. When I lived here before, I was on National Health. I can tell you that it was magnificent not paying every month huge fees to an insurance company for health, because health in America is definitely for profit. Whereas here, you don't pay and you can go to the doctor whenever you want. It really created a stress-free environment in that regard. I know there's downsides to national health, and I'm not here to discuss those, but I will say, in my opinion, that is one of the best things about the UK is having national health. And number 2, public transport. In England, you can take a train, you can take the tube, the underground. You can take buses, you can take taxis. You've got multiple ways of getting around the whole country. And I did that before when I worked here. I had to travel up to Scotland, I had to travel to Newcastle. If you travel into London, pretty much everywhere there's a train station to get into London, which is fantastic. Again, not doing a comparison, but I do think that is a strength that the UK definitely has over the US, is rapid transportation. Number 3, and that's that there's great holiday time and paid time off in the UK. It's usually up to 28 days per person. Now that can vary a little bit, but it's enough time that you can really take a big holiday and really feel like you've gotten away to a completely different society. When I lived here before, we actually delivered a sailboat from England down to the Mediterranean. It took about 3.5 weeks, and it was just my holiday time. It was wonderful. It was terrific. Along with that, they actually have that you can get up to 52 weeks for maternity leave, which again is wonderful for people to be able to rely on that. So to me, that's a huge plus of the UK over the US. At number 4, we have food quality. And that is because the UK has a very high standard of food quality, not allowing chemicals, not allowing a lot of sugars into things. Ergo, bread tastes better. The meat and vegetable is very often locally sourced for different restaurants and supermarkets. And again, most of the farmers practice those same rigid rules for having, really good quality livestock and vegetables and fruit and so forth. So definitely a huge plus. At number 5, we have work-life balance. And again, because I lived here and I worked full-time, I did experience this. People usually end the day promptly at 5, and they go home and they have time with their kids and their family. With that said, many of the pubs and so forth, at least in this area, and I'm sure it's pretty much throughout the UK, have areas for dogs and kids, so the whole family is included on that type of after-hours events. At number 6, we have something that I just love so much, and that's that there is so much history here in the UK, but then there's also outstanding historical preservation. So you're able to actually go to villages that are Elizabethan, and be able to experience those homes and those places firsthand. And then there's obviously the castles, the cathedrals, but these things exist throughout the United Kingdom, and so it's worth taking the time to go and enjoy them. But definitely one of the huge pluses, having that kind of antiquity. At number 7, we have something that I think is wonderful, and that's the pub culture. It really is bringing a community together. The pub culture is not just for drinking, although they have a much more relaxed attitude about drinking because you can start drinking when you're 18. But the pub culture is really for people to get together. Now, not everybody drinks. Some people have a coffee at the pub. The other thing that they do in a lot of the pubs in the UK is have quiz nights, which we attended just this last week. I will tell you that we did terribly. There were 15 teams, and my husband and I came in last. But it was just the two of us. That was the name of our team. But it was such fun. So pubs are really a place for the community and for people to getting together, and I think that's wonderful. At number 8, we have one thing that I think the UK does better, and that's TV and radio. I happen to love the BBC. I love the fact that they put out that Life on Earth series that was amazing. They do things that are very out of the box. I love the fact that so many shows that I've fallen in love with over the years, mysteries and so forth, have all come out of the UK. One thing to note that's interesting is if any of you are Lee Child fans, so Jack Reacher, Lee Child used to write for the BBC. And then another person who just recently has become very famous, Richard Osman, he actually used to write for the BBC, and he's come out with the Thursday Night Murder Club, or the Thursday Murder Club. Anyways, definitely 2 books to check out, 2 great authors, but both came out of working for the BBC. At number 9, we have school uniforms, and over 90% of the schools in the United Kingdom enforce using school uniforms, and most of the parents go along with this. I think it's wonderful. I think this causes, not having uniformity with a uniform causes a lot of problems. Having that uniformity takes a lot of stress out of the day. The parents don't have to worry about clothes and this and that, what the kids need to wear. The kids don't have to worry about it in the morning. They can put on the same thing and get going. I also think that it definitely creates more unity among the students. So I think that's a big plus in the UK. And at number 10, one of the things that I think is a big plus is the humor. The humor in the UK is a dry humor, and it's different depending on if you're in Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, or England. They all have a little bit different variety of humor, but it's all very good, very funny. I enjoy it because you can have banter in the pubs or the coffee shops and have a good chat with somebody, in the stores even. But the humor is displayed all day, and it really makes a gray day seem quite sunny. Okay, now it's time for the other side, and I'm not going to relinquish my tea and go get a coffee. I'll keep my tea because it's pretty good. But let's go over the 10 things that I think the US does better than the UK. So at number 1, I've got job opportunities and salaries, which are higher. And you can look it up. Statistically, it's about 50% higher, the salaries in the United States compared to the UK. Because we have 50 states and 300 million people, there's going to be more opportunities because there's more companies and so forth. So yes, you can make more money, and for probably a very similar job that you would do in the UK. So in that regard, I think that's a great step up. I think it's a great positive for the United States. I will add a caveat, and that's that out of that bigger salary, you have to pay your health insurance, which can be a pretty high price tag, and you also have to pay your Social Security. So those are 2 things that would come out of that bigger salary. And number 2, I have customer service, and that is the United States has really taken customer service to that next level. So literally, it seems like anytime you get on the phone with somebody, you're asked immediately, would you be willing to do a survey afterwards? So the workforce is well monitored for giving high levels of customer service, and ergo we have things like Amazon, who you can go and return something to them really very, very frictionless and easy. And they are now adapting that at a lot of different stores in the United States. So I would say customer service is a key driver and a big thing in the United States, making them pretty superior in that regard. At number 3, I have something that the United States does better, I think, than just about anybody, but I think they have a leg up over the UK, and that's that their technology and innovation is way up there. Many of you may be familiar with Silicon Valley, but there is now a Silicon Valley-like place in Austin, Texas. So many technology companies have moved there. On top of having really good technology and innovation, it's also the home of many global brands. So the United States is home to, obviously, Amazon, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Nike, Google. So that, again, lends itself to a lot of opportunity for jobs and growth in a job once you get that position. And number 4, I have housing and homes. And you can get a big home in the United States and oftentimes not even pay that much money for something similar in the UK that might be quite a bit smaller. That's because the United States is so big that there's multiple places where you can buy a large home, and because they're not that populated and there's not that many people there, you're not paying as much for that real estate. So it is good in that regard. Along with the homes being bigger, and not just size-wise, the rooms will be bigger as well, and the bathrooms and the closets. They'll usually have a bigger yard. So many homes are on substantial plots of land as well. So all of that, I do think that the United States has a bit of a leg up on. And this is something I think that has infected the whole world, and that's number 5, and that's professional sports, but also college sports. The United States has the NFL, which I think a lot of people have gotten into, even here in the UK, the NBA, basketball, PGA golf. So I do think that the United States has infected the world with their different sports, and that's even now with betting and so forth going to a college level, and the college sports are every bit as good as well. So I do think that that is one of the things that the United States has done a very good job with, is creating these different sports programs, and they've done really well globally. At number 6, we have the weather. And what's different about the United States is because it is so big, you can choose what type of weather you prefer. So if you want sunny all the time, you can move to Florida or California, and you're going to be assured a lot of sunshine most of the time. If you like snow, then you can move to the Rockies and enjoy really fantastic snow. If you like 4 seasons, you can move to the northern part of the United States. So in the Washington, Idaho, Montana, Dakotas, those areas, New York and upstate New York, all get 4 seasons. So it has got that kind of variety, which I think is kind of an amazing thing worldwide, but certainly over the UK, which there's similar kind of weather throughout the UK for the most part. Okay, number 7, the United States military infrastructure is almost unparalleled in the world. Certainly the investment made in the military is enormous. There are some enormous companies in the United States that are able to supply the military, like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman. So again, twofold, you've got the military, which is good for land, sea, or air, and then you've got the companies that make all those things for the military. So it gives that dimension of you could join the military and get a job, or you could work for those companies and have a job. But because of that infrastructure, it is, I think, a positive for the United States. Number 8, and that's the entrepreneurial culture. In 2024, the United States had 50% more startups than any other country in the globe. So there is that entrepreneurial culture. I do believe other countries are catching up to it, but currently Silicon Valley still is kind of the epicenter for that type of thinking. And so I think that's a big plus. If you're looking to move into something like that, definitely have some growth potential still in the United States. And number 9, we have something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's the national parks of the United States. There's over 63 national parks, and they represent some of the most amazing geography, topography, landscape in the world. If you've not been to Yosemite in California, try to put that on your bucket list. Half Dome takes your breath away. Same again with Yellowstone and the geysers and all of the animals that populate these national parks. So to me, that is something that is highly unique and incredible that they have in the United States. And here we are at number 10 for the United States, and that's that there is an optimism and a can-do attitude. And we see that, the unsinkable Molly Brown, we see that in the rags to riches stories. The United States has a lot of people who've been able to do very well and work their way up to some great heights. I actually worked with a person who was a Vietnamese boat person. He had literally come over on the boat from Vietnam, and he ended up graduating from a university in Southern California and starting a software company for lending that got bought, and he became a millionaire through that. And I knew him personally, worked for him and everything. So it was really neat to see that story in real life. Somebody literally off a boat be able to go into a meteoric success. So what do you think? UK, US? Where do the scales go for you? Put your comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Please think about thumbs up or subscribing. We'd greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Cheers for now.